Thank you for joining and welcome to the fiscal year 2027 Brownfields Redevelopment Fund Program webinar. My name is David Bancroft and I serve as the Senior Vice President of Community Investment and the state's Brownfields Program Manager for Mass Development. The purpose of this webinar is to give you a brief overview of the program, provide you some information on how this program fits into the overall one-stop for growth, some application instructions, important program parameters, how to be competitive, and provide some examples of successful applications from prior rounds and key dates coming up. The Brownfields Redevelopment Fund purpose is to encourage the reuse of vacant, abandoned, and idle or underutilized industrial commercial properties in areas where expansion, redevelopment, or improvement is hampered by the real or perceived environmental contaminations on the property. The purpose of the fund is to advance environmental site assessment and remediation activities in order to guide the redevelopment of those parcels. In the One Stop for Growth portal, the only eligible applicants are municipalities, their agencies, or authorities. Where does the Brownfields fit in the One Stop? The Brownfields program will be found in site preparation category, and then within that there are two options, site assessment or remediation. So when you get to that section of the application, after you've selected site preparation and Brownfields site cleanup, you will be asked to choose either the Brownfields site assessment or Brownfields remediation. The project budget for site assessment can only be up to $100,000, and this year we have increased the site remediation assistance to $400,000. Site assessment and remediation activities need to be completed within 1 year from the time of the award, and funds can be used for services provided by a licensed site professional or a contractor for the sampling, testing, analysis, and reporting of soil and groundwater conditions. Funds may also be used for the excavation, hauling, and transport and disposal of contaminated soils from the site. What is not eligible? The Brownfields Redevelopment Fund cannot pay for the demolition of any building on the site. It is not intended for municipal projects that will end up in a municipal reuse, such as a town hall, public works department, school, police, or fire building. Funds may not be used to do geotechnical surveys, and applicants cannot have been deemed the primary responsible party. So how to be competitive? What is the key information that the program reviewers are looking at and what you should consider when filling out the application? A, site control. The applicant must have the legal right to enter the site or conduct the proposed scope of work. You need to have a scope of work that has been proposed and put together by a licensed site professional or a licensed contractor, and that proposal can be reasonably completed within 12 months of the award. The budget. Are the funds that you are requesting sufficient to cover the proposed scope of work that has been provided by the LSP or contractor? If those scopes are more than we can give you in this funding round, do you have the money that would supplement that ask? Other questions that we would look at is the site part of an overall redevelopment plan and strategy and priority for the community and its stated economic and community development goals. We are looking for projects that will probably have an end result of housing development, job creation, or the establishment of retail or commercial spaces. And once again, has the city or town prioritized this site as part of your local or regional economic development area? We will need to see an updated scope of services and budget for the work to be performed on the grant, as well as proof of ownership, which can be covered by a deed or a tax assessor's card showing that the applicant is the current owner of the property. Let me give you some successful examples of successful applicants in prior rounds. The City of Lynn. The City of Lynn asked for funding for 100 Willow Street, a 0.8 acre municipally owned parcel in downtown Lynn. Given that what has gone on the site in the past, there was known to be contamination issues potentially on the property. The city was able to successfully apply for in FY24 for a $100,000 site assessment award. This gave them the funds they needed to actually do the testing and determine what the issues were in the soil and develop a plan for how to actually remediate the soil. Because they were able to complete this within the year's period, in FY25, the city was able to come back and ask for a remediation award. They were successful in receiving $233,000. And those funds were used to clean up and haul the soils off the site. That was recently completed, and the city is now in a position to better put that site out to bid for redevelopment. The second example I can give you is the city of Taunton, 395 West Water Street, also known as the former Bacon Felt factory site, a 3.8-acre parcel that was owned by the city of Taunton. There had been some earlier site assessment work that indicated that the property was impacted with various hazardous materials and contaminants. They successfully put an application together because the city of Taunton had clearly made that this redevelopment was a priority for the community and the neighborhood in which the site was located. One of the factors of the site was that there were two buildings on the property that were in poor condition and need to be demolished. They successfully applied for site readiness funding, which allowed for the demolition of the project, and then the Brownfields funding provided $250,000 to address the soil contamination issues on the site. So what's the timeline? The timeline is we are now currently in the expression of interest period. This is an opportunity for applicants who are unsure if the program funds are actually applicable to their project, can submit application information through the expressions of interest and get feedback as to whether the program is appropriate for their ask. Does this Brownfields program fit the application that you are looking to submit? The full application period will be from May to June. Applicants may submit their full applications beginning on May 4th, and all applications must be submitted by Wednesday, June 3rd. Over the course of the summer, from July through September, there will be all the applications submitted will be reviewed and determined if they are eligible for funding. The one-stop team will conduct a joint application review across agencies, and based on the program's criteria, each program will prepare a list of applications recommended for funding. We anticipate that in the month of October, all final recommendations will be approved and that the applicants will be notified. It is at this period of time that you would have a year to complete your work that you are being funded for. Opportunities for further guidance. As I said, the expression of interest period is now open and is eligible for funding for projects that's looking for funding through the one-stop, and you can get tips on preparing your application or determine if the application will fit a specific program. The One-Stop for Growth program webinars, which according is currently you are listening to. And then we will have office hours. There will be a general guidance office hours coming up, and we will also have program-specific office hours where the staff from each program will hold an office hour to answer any applicant questions related to the program. The dates and times for those office hours will be posted. So thank you for listening to this. I hope you find this helpful. I am more than happy to answer any questions that you may have about the Brownfields Redevelopment Fund, and you can email me at dbancroft@massdevelopment.com. Once again, thanks for listening.